Let me
giving
get the
you an
laptop
idea of
going.
how everything is going to look once it's on. It's mapping it out, placeholder, and you'll see
Get
why
to
in just
work.
a little bit. Okay, you don't have to be absolutely perfect. In fact, all that filigree in the background, it's not my filigree. I just put it there to kind of get an idea of where my filigree is going to be later because I'm going to freehandle that filigree. This was just something to get my brain kind of churning, but I'm not going to stick with it. So I can cut right through it. Okay, now to start with, that's all the piece I need. What that is going to be a placeholder, and I'm probably going to use this positive, put back on top of it, to give me the line of the highlights here on this side. So you'll see that here in just a minute. Now we're in the mapping stage of the foreground, and I've got a pretty good background set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my main foreground image, which is her portrait here, placing it in a place that I think is going to be best for the composition, get an idea of how it's going to look. One offhand, I think that's the best orientation. So I'm going to take, and by the way, I have sprayed Elmer's sticky glue. It's an Easy Tack from Elmer's. I got it at my local Hobby Lobby. I sprayed that on the back, just a light tack of it, just because so I don't have to use tape. And it's just a lot more handy. The thing to remember, if you ever do use Easy Tack and you're using a water-based or if you're using a urethane paint, if you put it on too wet, it will soak into the paper and it will put the
All
glue
right.
in
Let's see
and
how
mess up your
I'm
painting a little bit.
doing.
So just use it when
Put
you're
my
spraying
hand up
very
here.
lightly.
I'm on a
Here,
long
like I said, I
delay.
like this orientation the most. I think I'm going to move her just a hair closer to the center so there's not so much background.
I'm on a long delay on my laptop. So
Now I'm going to place my negative.
we'll go
This
there,
would be my
there.
positive stencil.
All right.
Negative stencil.
We're going to try to do the fur now. Take the
Okay.
face and everything. I have pretty much where I want to be. But now it's time to do the fur.
Placeholder was. Like I said, this one
So
won't go out of shape right here because it's solid.
we'll
But this
start
one will
with
go out
the
of shape. As you can
light
see, I
color
can move it in
first,
and out.
which will
So
be
if you
the
put this one
white.
down first, you can use it to line up your outside. So that you
And
know
we're
that
going to use
you haven't distorted the
Timothy John Luke's
So
airbrush.
move it. And there you go. Now I can take out.
In the background of this video, you're going to hear.
And go ahead and start placing.
I got Ryan Townsend videos going.
Covering up that background. Now there are different ways you could do this. You could have put her down and do the background, with the mask on it. The reason I did the background first is because it was very wet. I was using a lot of spraying and all these different other things. I didn't want to ruin my paper, so I figured if I established the background first, then my stencil would get running.
Let's see how much we get done today.
You don't want to put it on too wet. You also don't want to hit this backside too much because you don't want a hard edge here. Just stick to the places you know there's going to be a hard edge. Turn my air pressure down. It's a little wild right now. Go ahead and cover up that background. I'm not coming to this side. Staying over here. Now I'm pretty close to where I want to be. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and pull this, but don't ruin it. Save it. We're going to put it aside. You're going to need it again later. kind of a soft, got kind of a soft image of what she's gonna look like in there. So I've gone ahead and I poured a little bit of black in my cup. I'm gonna add a little bit of reducer. My ratio to this is quite a bit more than what's recommended. What's recommended is a 50-50 mixture, but I usually overdo it quite a bit. So you just want to kind of spray it out, feel it out, and see if you're getting the opacity that you want. So you can spray like on the stick over here. A little strong right now. I don't want that strong. So you see my little test panel here. I'm also seeing that my black is actually a little more strong than I'd like it to be. What I'm going to do is just make this more transparent. So I'm going to add the inner coat clear.
I need to add a little bit of white to it. It's too thin. So let me get the illustration white.
And I'll take my red candy. I want more red candy than I had. And like I said, there's no science to it. I know when you're doing production stuff, a lot of times you want to have a record of how you mix your paint. A lot of my stuff is one-off, and I don't plan on ever doing it again. So if there ever is a time that I have to redo this piece for whatever reason, I'm just going to redo it from the beginning. So I'm not really concerned about what ratios I mix. All I'm concerned about is what looks right. So let me take the lid back off so I can have that inner coat clear like I said.
All right. Now we're ready to go with the whites.
Like I said, in standoffs, this is $5.99 off the shelf. PPG 500.
Always
Off the color.
close up your cups or paint, whatever.
I think with the House of Color shimmer and
Put it off to the side. Close it up. Put it off to the side. That way you don't spill it around,
and that's probably enough.
especially getting it on your painting and that. So here we go. And I don't need that up there.
This is about a 50-50 right here. What I
Just
poured
basically going to come in and
on, give it
like highlight some of these areas with the white.
a ready now. So let's give it
Just
a
to
test.
give me a little bit of a reference, because if you come in and you just stay on like the hair and that,
Pigment in there.
uh,
Good paint. Got a little bit of reducer. As I said
you just
before, we're
wanted
overdoing it.
enough to
So, a lot of reducer. All right, let's
go in the direction of the hairline.
As you can see, my black is now a very warm, almost brown color. Black actually leans onto the blue side. So when you add red to it,
Way the hair is going.
the cross is a little brown. So, but that's what I want. I want a very warm, almost sepia, brownish black tone to this when I finish. So I think I got my color where I want it. Right here, as you can see, I've got my stencil laid on this white piece of paper. Because I don't know if I'm going to need, because I'm going to rip this stencil apart later, and I don't know if I'm going to need any of these outside edges later, but just to save them before I go ripping the stencil apart, I'm going to make a copy of it by just spraying through like this. I'll even copy some of my inner parts here. And I also have another printed image of it too, as backup, for my backup.
I'm gonna put my glove on.
Anytime you're using printed images like this, you want to print maybe 2 or 3.
I want this glove on.
You'll have something.
This hand.
So, as you can see here, if I pull it up, all
I don't like the way it
on those lines,
fits.
I'll have an exact saved piece of that. So if I need to do something later with it, I can just butt it up against there and use it as like a freehand shield. the whites of her eyes first. One thing you want to be conscious of when cutting out your stencil, you want to kind of assess your drawing abilities and recognize how much mapping do you need. Because this mapping is not what's going to give us our shape. The mapping is just locating different parts so you can draw from there. So if you think you need a little more, you're not, your drawing skills aren't up there yet, then you're probably going to want a tracer with maybe some graphite paper or something like that. But I'm pretty confident in my own drawing ability, so I like to prefer mapping it this way because it establishes color faster. I get my white highlights there faster, and I don't have to work around pencil marks as much. And I don't know, I've used a bunch of different transfer techniques, and this one happens to be one of my favorite transfer techniques. Also, you want to try to, you're going to be able to use this multiple times, but you don't want to have to use multiple stencils. So let's say in our highlight areas, I don't want to cut out this whole entire shape possibly first. I don't want to do that because I can cut out the hot spots. Say I cut this shape here. Well, then later when I want to find this broader shape here, I can just re-cut into it again. So be cautious when you're making your first cut. How many times can you cut and give yourself some more room to work? And I'll just go ahead and show you an example here in just a little bit. You'll see what we've got there. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all my bright spots out. Like I said, in this portion, you want to locate some of your brightest spots. Like that. And I'm going to cut through her eyelashes. I went ahead and in the computer I added these really long eyelashes. Those are just for ideas, keep my brain churning. So I'm going to cut through them because I'm going to hand do those later. And then I'm going to round right here where the hottest spots are, the brightest spots are. And you'll see why later. There we go. Like that. Around this dark portion here. Like I said, we got the
Now we're
blue
trying to
one.
go down here.
Something
Just
pop out, you gotta pull it out. There's one. Her nose, there's not a line here, because her nose kind of blends in with the cheek. You want to kind of either use your imagination or maybe put some contrast out in the computer when you first did it. But, I'm just going to use my imagination. And here is a technique. I can't really remember where I got this from. I don't know if I made it up. Pretty sure I'm not the first one to do it. So
this glove ain't working on my hand.
I'm just peeling it
I'm just
back.
gonna let my hand go across there.
I think maybe it was Corey St. Clair. What I'm doing is I'm peeling that back because I don't want to lose the shape as a whole, but I do want to locate this area here. So instead of cutting this out and losing that whole piece, for instance, I would lose some of this. Because I don't want to lose this line here. Let's say I cut this nose out here and then to here. Well, I would lose this border shape of the eye. So I need for now. So just for now, I'm just going to peel it back and leave it like that. I'm cutting along the top of the lips. And line down here. shape. I would lose this shape right here if I went to cutting this out right now. So you can either peel it back, which I may do, or you can just wait and cut it out later. And I think probably peeling it back will be the way I'm going to go. So what I'm going to do is just like here, I'm going to cut this bottom line out, cut all the way here. And what this gives me is now I can, when I place this, I can spray these two shapes first, and I can take and peel this back, and then boom, I've finished out that shape. So you don't want to cut it completely out. Now these highlights in the mouth are important. What these are what I say, I call these placeholders. It's good to locate these highlighted areas. Think of it as a map of a city or a state or something. And, you've got a city here and you've got a city here and you've got all this land in between. And you want to know where different points of reference are in order to make it from here to here, so you don't get lost in between here. So let's say I'm working in this area, which is a key area, her lips, and I'm also working in her eye, which is a key area. You've got all this desert space here, this dead space between the face. Not dead space, but you've got this extra space that's easy to get lost. So you want to find reference points, like if she had a freckle here, or just something you can find as a landmark to kind of help you locate different things in between or key to look for. I don't have a lot in here, but I'm just letting you know that those are some things to look for if they do have them. And that's kind of like what these highlights are for the mouth. They give me a sense of how the mouth is going to roll once I get it on the paper. It'll help me locate these things. And I think what's key is don't get dependent on mapping things in this way. You really do need to know how to draw as much as you can, because it would be a lot easier to get lost if you were dependent on your tracing. If you didn't have a solid, drawing background, then you would get lost a lot more.
Tommy,
Being able to locate it
Thomas,
without all
how
these
you doing, Thomas?
So I got that there. Looking for more things I can possibly cut out now, maybe right here. You want to cut out as much as you can.
Morning to you.
It's probably going to tear right there. It's probably a bad idea for me to cut so close to an edge.
Can you hear me? My sound good.
You wanna in this first part of the mapping, you wanna locate as much as you can, so that way when you lay your second layer of mapping down, you'll have a lot of reference points. As you will see
What you
later,
hear in the background, I got the
mapping requires
video, or I got Ryan Townsend going in the background. Told you guys about him yesterday.
I probably said this before, but I'll go ahead and repeat myself. The reason I call it mapping is because it's just like that. It's just locating different parts. This is not what is going to create your image. Your freehand airbrushing is going to be what makes the image. This is a little more than background. Down here, okay, and I think that's probably as far as I want to take this right now. So we'll go ahead and spray this down. We'll cut some more, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna go ahead and place my stencil down now, and go ahead and just line it up with the original guidelines that you created for yourself. Push it down. And then get it down to here. And what I've done is, this original white that I made right here, it's a baseline white. It's a mid-tone white. So, in order for these stencils to show up, I have to brighten up my white. What I did is I poured some of my pigment in here. I poured some of this mid-tone pigment, which is a gray. And then I took my pure white here, mixed it about 50-50, or even more probably. And then I added some reducer. So basically what I'm saying is this color here is a lot brighter than the color that's down. That way, I'll be able to see my stencil show up. But it's not as harsh as if I would have used the white originally and had to blend it out.
Coffee time in the studio.
Medium background. So, let's go ahead and put that in there like that. The white of the eyes in. That part of the nose. Part of the mouth here.
One thing about white, you have to watch it. This is the illustration white that I'm using.
Now, here's where the flipping comes into play. I can actually take and flip this up, and it'll give me the top of the list here. Okay, let's see what we did.
There's that
Alright, now
there.
notice, you can zoom in here.
Kind of like that side,
What
looking
we have
good.
is very faint, very faint.
Now let's get up here. We'll just blob some of the. I'm gonna try to just blob some of the areas, or
so if I keep my stencil faint, then when I go to add
like
my
splatter
colors
it.
or whatever, I can just be worried about the value
If you
of the
like-
colors and the brightness and the highlights and all that as it is, rather than fighting a stencil underdrawing the whole time. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and put her
Like
back
putting
in
just
place
dots
here.
around in a way.
And it can be a little tricky. It is a little shredded. You want to kind of line it up with the previous guidelines. I know you're probably thinking there's got to be an easier way to do this. There is an easier way to do this called chasing, but I don't like to work around chase lines. Put that back in place there. Your eyebrows down a little bit. That there. There's my wrinkles. And it's down. So we'll quickly go ahead and map it further. Go like that. Put our mid-tone shadows in there. Mid-tone, mid-tone. I'm going to put a lip pen. Say, Ryan, you're spending a lot of time mapping, or you're spending a lot of time with your undertone. I have found the more time that I spend on these beginning stages of the painting, the more rewarding the end stages will be. So if you're in a rush to get to the money shot, which is, you know, your black work or the detail work, you're going to lose out on all this depth that you can create by, you know, taking your time with the bottom layers. And you'll see why for this video. I'm just going to put it in. I'm going to take this out. Now I've got a good idea where her lips are. On camera, it's probably super faint. It's just as faint in real life. So that's how I like it. And I think as far as my mapping is concerned, that's as far as I go. That, for me, that's fully mapped out. It is very faint and it's very hard to read. But, as I said, for the style in which that I paint, I depend a whole lot on my drawing and my, you know, my knowledge of drawing, and not so much on my mapping. But if you need more mapping, just add more. Just, you know, you could go lighter on your background, or go darker on your background. That way your foreground highlights just go up a little better. There's a million ways to make it. You know, you could trace. There's a bunch of different ways to be able to see it better. If you have problems with it. But, like I said, for me, this is how I like it right here. Very faint. And then I'm going to go and pop it out more right now. Alright, now I've got my image the way that I like it. I've got my reference here on my little tablet. And I'm going to go ahead and just start filling out some details. I've over-reduced my white quite a bit. I've also turned my, you know, use my matte valve. I've turned my air pressure down a little bit. I'm just going to spray off, kind of test my pattern. Alright, perfect. So I'm just finding key areas, like if you look at her eyebrow, for instance, some key areas here in her eye is maybe, you know, this top part of her brow, maybe right here, maybe right here against her eye, obviously the inside of her eye, the outside, this little area here, this area here, this part of her eyelid, you know, the white of her cheek on this side. Those are key areas, so you want to locate those first.
It's okay, we can do that. Fix that. What do I do with it? In there. I should always have that out. It's alright. I like the way it dried anyway. Yep, that's it.
Now this stage of the painting is what I call my underdrawing, or my underpainting. This is a sketch. There's a lot of room for fudging around and moving things around. So, you know, like let's say I put her.
That's kind of right there.
In this under layer, there's a lot of room to move it around because I'm working in white. Because I haven't gotten my black yet. So this layer is vital. This layer is going to let you kind of figure out where everything on this painting belongs. If you were tracing, let's say you use graphite paper, this layer probably wouldn't be as difficult, but I like I said a bunch of times already, I like this light work. I like to work slow. I like to locate my highlights. I don't like working around pencil marks because you become a little dependent on those pencil marks. And if you're letting the piece kind of find itself, you know, if you're looking for different shapes and you're not just following guidelines like so much that pencil mark gives you, it has a tendency to have a little more depth, have a little more personality, character, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it unless you were to use both techniques. You know, you're drawing.
Yeah, it was.
Drawing is fun. And you're rewarding.
It was a white bit widow.
Some of my drawings, some of the paintings that I've done.
I know you're talking about a black widow.
You probably will notice that I get a great
It was
deal
the
of
waterfall.
depth, a great deal of texture that you don't see a lot in other paintings. And the reason is because I take this care to do things a little bit outside the box. You know, I don't stick to simple. You know, I just paint slow, and it almost feels like a sculpture. For instance, you're kind of pushing. Like right now, if the white work would be like I'm pinching and pulling shapes out, like pulling them out from the background. And then when I move into my dark work, my black work later, that's more like pushing things back in. So it feels like a sculpture. And it starts to look that way too. And that's where you get the depth. So you might be wondering, you know, how do I get small detail right now? First of all, it's the micron is definitely, I can't take full credit, it's just the micron, especially pulling apart. But also it's in my reduction. If you're working with a urethane-based paint, then you can reduce those quite far, and they can be quite transparent. You'll notice my air pressure is pretty low.
Oh no, this is
Over-reduce my
Tim's
water
airbrushed Extreme Patriot
I want to
105.
go slow. I don't want to get it down. Like, if I were to like hammer the white down at
Tim,
brought it all the way as white as white can go, then I lose the opportunity for all these layers,
Tim's airbrush.
you know, and I lose the opportunity to get. So if you have your white quite transparent, you can spray off to the side and see how transparent it is. You know, you want it to be as transparent as you can make it without going so far as to make the paint where the paint doesn't work very well anymore. So, I don't get a lot of clogging with my urethane. I know that there's a water-based paint. I know a lot of you guys like your water-based paint. It's called Wicked. And there's also Wicked makes Createx.
Yeah, his 105 is pretty good. I got 3 up. I got 2 of the big cups, and then I got the one Patriot Arrow one also.
That illustration colors. I've used it in the past, and I really like it. It's quite transparent, and it doesn't clog. I know they have a new reducer that it doesn't clog so much. So when you're doing stuff like what I'm doing right now, it really starts to shine with the layering. And so yeah, so those are your different options. Urethane's great. And if you don't like them, I know some people can't breathe in the poisons and all that. I know Simran too, the House of Color, they have really low VOC content. So if you're afraid of that sort of thing, you and maybe you supply the Kindle to some Honka color. But getting to know your paint is key. You know, whatever brand it is that you decide to use, you gotta really get to know it. Use it a lot. And then the more you know your paint, the more you're gonna be able to push it to the limits that it needs to be, like tuning a guitar. I mean, if you know how to tune a guitar, then you're gonna be able to play cleaner music. And it's the same with this paint. The more you practice, the more you learn it, the more you watch how it acts, regardless of what brand you're using, the better you're gonna be able to tune it. Really make it work. So if you're asking, like you're probably thinking right now, well, Ryan, what's your exact ratio? Honestly, I don't know. I know that I overdo it with the reduction. Other than that, I don't know. I just watch it. I watch the paint come through the airbrush. I listen to the airbrush. I hear if it's got clogging, if it whistles at all. I know that it's starting to clog. If it sounds
I don't know
loud,
what he's talking about
I
sometimes.
know that
Like he's talking about the whistle of the airbrush.
there's probably
I
too
can't
high of
hear
a
that
pressure.
good anyway.
Right now,
So
if you can hear it on camera, I don't know how it picks up. It's very, I don't know, it sounds clean.
but I guess he's talking about the way the air comes
Low pressure. I can turn my
is
pressure
coming
up
out.
and I
You
drop
know
down
when it's
to
getting
a
clogged.
little more for broad spaces. But really, that's where the practice comes in. I know when I began,
And he's right about that. The more you practice, the better you'll
with
get.
the same brand of paint that I'm using right now, where I was getting frustrated
And watching tons of
and
video.
I didn't know what was going on. And I'd read all the forums, I'd email people, ask a lot of questions. And I think the handiest thing I ever learned when tuning your airbrush was the over-reducing part, because I used to stick to what I was taught, and I come from an automotive background, and in automotive we mix a lot of 50-50 ratios. So I wouldn't want to overdo it because the book told me that it needs to be 50-50. But when you're doing artwork, you kind of throw the books out and you make your own rules. And everybody's different, so your rules are going to be actually different than mine. Just practice with it, just do it, and figure it out. But yeah, and as you can see, she's taking shape quite quickly. And because I'm working transparent, I have a lot of room to fudge around, move things around. And when I do get to my dark later, I'll know exactly what I'm doing because I've had this opportunity to kind of practice with it. Now let's go to my reference real quick and let me show you some things that I noticed. Here's some shapes, if you can see on camera. Here's some shapes that are key. If you look at your highlight colors, your highlight shape, right here on the top of her mouth, this shape. Sometimes I'll look like, here's the bottom of her lip and how it curves around. And then here's this point at the top of her mouth. I'm looking at where that is relative to the point at the bottom of her lip. A lot of people want to say, their mind takes over and says that the point from the bottom of her lip is stacked directly underneath this point. But that's not the case. If you look at the point of the bottom of the lip, which is right here, it's actually just a little to the right of the top of this part of the lip. So if you look here, and then you come a little bit right and go straight down, that's where this bottom point is. Now, also you want to locate, that's a key area here. Also you want to locate right here. You'll notice if you go down just a hair and over, that's where this key area is. So I'm always looking at like these key points that I know, and then I'm trying to find other key points. And once I've found this key point, and this key point, it'll help me bring this line together. So when I'm painting, I'm always looking at reference points. You know, I'm always looking at how different things are relative. I never let my mind take over and tell me, oh, well, her lip is going to be directly below this point because it just makes sense in your head. And it's not the case. Her lip comes out and, there's some three-dimensional form which is going to make this what your mind might think it is. And then you got your highlights within your highlights. You got a really bright area here. Got a really bright area here. And you got a middle bright here. It's not quite as bright as this one.
Get
So,
back down here.
some
I
bright
bounce
here.
around when I'm
Things you want to be looking at.
doing this one.
Reference. I can understand how it's kind of bright here. The texture almost, it gives that round chin. So if I were to paint it, I'm painting, kind of round. And my technique as far as pulling the trigger is concerned, I'm really tight. I'm not loose at all. If you come back over to my piece here, got a little bit of spin going on. I'm just mimicking what I see. I know there's some people that, they describe different techniques. I know some people will call it like the figure eight technique, or they call it, baby X's, or some will just, dagger strokes or whatever, a given name. I'm never really thinking about my stroke too much. What I'm thinking of, for the most part, is what does my reference look like and what's coming out of my brush. So there's never really a thought as to what my strokes are. I know a lot of people, they want something a little more structured in their explanation, but I don't think that it's necessary to give it a label, because I'm constantly changing my technique according to what I think the image is asking for. So if I think it needs lines right here, I'm going to put lines in it. If I think it needs what you might call a dagger stroke in there, I'm going to put dagger strokes in there. If I think it needs baby X's, do baby X's or figure eight. But right now it's a woman and she's very soft. It's not like an old man, so you don't want to scribble too much. You just want to, give her some soft blends, You want it very feminine looking, so I'm going to be a little more soft about it. So, I'd say be more conscious of, is what's coming out of your airbrush and hitting your canvas, is it doing what your reference is telling you to do? Because if it's not, you should adjust your technique. So I wouldn't be so concerned about, am I doing what Ryan told me to do? Because it's not me that's in charge of your technique, it's your reference that's in charge. And the more you study reference, the more you start to learn how different things work. And you'll be able to, like in your personal drawings, let's say you want to do something a little more fantasy, where you're doing a lot of making things up as you go. Well, if you've mimicked a lot of like skin textures and scale textures and fur textures, and you've done it so many times, it kind of gets logged into your head as, something you remember. And so you're better able to do some of your fantasy stuff later if you've practiced enough with real world stuff. It's just like, it's like a personal memory database. So, anyway, off on a bit of a tangent there, but so I think her face is getting a little to where I like it. I think it's pretty close. Give her that little highlight in her eye. Like I said, on this layer, the most important thing to remember is, did you give yourself enough reference that when you go into your dark, you'll know where you're at. You'll know where things belong. And I think I have so far. So the thing I'm thinking about right now is, I think my mapping is where it needs to be. So the new thing that's come to my mind is, are my bright areas as bright as they need to be? Because I don't want to come back and brighten things up later. So when I go to add my darks, I want my brights to already be as bright as they need to be. So I'm going to look at my reference, I'm going to locate the bright areas, I'm going to come back over to my canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and brighten everything that needs to be bright because I feel like my mapping is pretty well done. So let's go ahead and hit the hot spots and pop those out. Get them, go ahead and make them as bright as they need to be. I've had people tell me before that they think my underdrawing, this part of the piece right here that I'm doing, you know, they think it's good enough to be the final piece. And
I'm in Maryland.
I think that's good for people to think that. That means because you want to put enough attention into this underdrawing that it could be your final piece, because the better your underdrawing, the better.
Where are you at?
The better your final one is going to be. So it can only get better.
Oklahoma? I was messing with you.
Now, if you're wondering about my design and how I came up with it, or how closely I'm sticking to it,
Mississippi.
I rendered it out on computer so that the customer could okay it. But I'm not going to stick with it so closely that it's exactly what I'm going to get. I wanted it to look artsy, you know, because you know, me and the customer both agreed that we didn't want it to come across as something like a cheesy portrait on the side of his motorcycle. We wanted it to be its own piece of art on the side of a motorcycle. So I'm taking a lot of liberties to get kind of creative with it. And you know, that's
Down by Louisiana.
we decided filigree is good.
Are you near Louisiana?
You know, it's classic, it's timeless. I kind of took a generic piece of filigree off the computer. Somebody else's filigree that I like. I'm not going to stick with it. It was just a little placeholder just to kind of get my brain training in that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the filigree now. And I'm going to make this part up as I go. So I'm just going to explain what's going through my mind as I do it. First, you want to kind of find a flow. So I'm going to start with something curvy. I'm getting my hand kind of moving in that kind of direction. Like I've got my hand, you know, I've got it kind of moving in a flow, and I'm going to be real loose. I'm going to kind of locate different things. Real light, real loose. I know when you're doing filigree, be real essy about it. You know, try to, you know, the large S shape, and then kind of flow off. You know, let each shape kind of, as long as you keep curving. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to figure out the flow of it. I'm not really worried about my details. The beauty about using an airbrush to do sketching like this is it almost shows you the shape before you even had a chance to figure it out. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the flow like I said. Come off here. Big one. Something up from the bottom here. Alright, now I'm going to start detailing it out and building the filigree. I know you can vaguely see it, but all I've really done is kind of, I've put a couple little strokes just in the direction of the flow that I'm going to want. So now it's time to go ahead and detail it out. I'm going to move my reference away from me. But ignore that.
Hair going all over the place.
Build on top of it. Lots of layers.
Sick. Gotta step back every now and then and check it out. Now that was just the white. I'm gonna come in with the I gotta keep bouncing back and forth on it. But I'm liking how it's looking.
So after thinking about it for a minute, I decided it would probably be best if I went ahead and cut out some of these details, just in case I needed some hard lines.
Process. Let me see what I got.
Maybe under
We're
the
gonna
nostril
sit
a little
back.
bit, little bit
Look
of this.
at it.
I try not to use stencils as much as I can heading into the black, because I feel that they make edges that are, a little harder than I like them to be. So
I want to be able to see it from a distance, and
cut a few of these
looking
details
good.
out.
I'll be right back.
She's got these eyelashes underneath her eye. So I'm just gonna cut these out a bit, and then it'll be a good guideline for me later. When deciding what parts of your black that you should stencil, you just kind of think of what's necessary. Because I like to live under the rule, if it's not necessary to stencil it, then don't stencil it. Just because those edges can be, pretty hard, and I feel like a lot of times the freehand edges, just look better. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll stencil this part of it. Okay, so I went ahead and I placed this piece down that we just cut out. I cut right here, which I didn't show before. I cut the top out. And the reason I did that, it just helps me with lining this bottom piece up to where it needs to be. Just for lining it up. So, I'm going to go ahead and spray in. You don't want to spray all the way up to the edges. You just want to kind of spray a pattern like that. I don't want to finish off I don't want to finish off this part because, like I said, I want it to be mostly freehand looking. So we don't want, we can avoid hard edges, let's avoid them. I'll put the element one of that one. And a little bit of that nostril. And there's that. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to go ahead and just start doing my black. Okay, usually when I start my my gray work or my black work, I always start with the eye. That's just a personal preference of mine. So that's what I'm going to start today. If you look at my reference, you'll see that I like to start inside the dark portions of the eyes first. I like to locate my darkest areas. It's a safe place to start because you can always go darker, but you can't go lighter. It's a lot harder to go lighter, so the dark
It does
areas are a
look
safe
good
place to start.
back here.
So I'm going to start up here in her eye, in the darkest areas.
We'll get that
and I'm
darker
gonna blend
brown out.
and locate my values and go from there. It's important to remember when using, when
Dark brown and black
copying your reference,
together.
it's
I'll
important
do that.
to pay close attention to all the little bitty details, like all these little shadows within the shadows here, all these little creases. I know a lot of people when they do things,
Yeah,
they'll
'cause I need to
overlook,
go-
okay,
Need to darken these areas up a little bit.
between the eyelashes here.
If I go with the
and
dark
the eye,
brown with the
people
black
seem
in
like,
it,
let's say the white
just
of your
add
eye
some
is totally white,
spots.
it's not. It's
It's
a
got
gray
spots
color.
like that.
This is your white right here on the
That looks
highlight.
good there.
Also then this, like this
That's
little
like my
shape here,
forehead
and
in a
this
way.
shape here of the eyelash, and then that shadow underneath. And also that there's a little crease.
I'm
right
not
here.
exact match. I don't think I'll ever get to the exact match, but
A little-
I'm kind of digging where I'm at
We've got
now.
this shade out. There's a mid-tone right here. back into a darker tone, and then we pick up on the eyelashes. So you're always looking at those sorts of things when you look at your reference. Those are
We're
important.
gonna,
So,
I'm gonna go with this brown. I'm gonna have to. Oh, I'll get the little cup out for this part.
All right. Hopefully, you have given yourself enough reference in your white work that it's real easy
See
for you
what
to locate some of the darkest areas. You'll notice
See what I got here. I got
that my black
brown already
is
mixed
very
up.
transparent. It's very over reduced,
It's all illustration.
so I can work
It's the
in layers.
brown
I don't
and
have to be
burnt
real
sienna,
specific each line that I make. I can
wicked
just
brown
shade
and
it
burnt sienna together. And
like that.
this time I'm gonna get another cup. I'm gonna pour a little bit in the other cup and add a little bit of black to it
Going inside the crease of her eye.
to darken it
Like
up
I said,
even
right now,
more.
just locating the dark areas first. That's going to help sculpt the eye. I'm always looking for reference points.
Cause I feel I have my
Like I mentioned,
the light color established enough to where I
certain
could go
reference
ahead
points you want to look at.
and we could get into the
Where
darker
each shadow or crease or
details to make it
eyelash,
pop a little
anything
bit
like
more.
that, is located in relation to the things around it.
Liking that. And then I could take
So you're always picking reference points.
like a stencil. See how it's got the lines there?
Don't try to make it
I
happen
could
too
just
quickly. Right now,
blow
you're
off
still
of
kind
that
figuring out
stencil a little bit, hold
the
it out,
shape of everything.
just blow off of it a little bit to give me them lines back. Same thing here. We want to do it that curve in a way. We'll do it like that in a way.
And
So we'll just blow off.
if we decided we needed to go darker later, we can.
The Big Shield, man, it's I really
don't
love
be in a hurry to get
it.
there. Just sculpt this out and make it happen.
Hey, Thompson, yeah, I love watching people do the airbrush work and that, but Ryan, I tell you, Ryan Townsend, man,
If you feel like you need to jump around,
his freehand skills are unbelievable.
let's say you don't have enough reference points in a certain area, you don't, like I say, let's say start in the eye and then just work your way around if you don't have enough reference points to help you get there. So
I wish he'd get back into doing airbrush artwork.
To a certain point, and you work the nose,
All right, let me
you get
get
it to
a
a
cup.
certain point, your mouth, you get it to a certain point, and then
Yeah,
that'll help
no
you
lid.
find all these locations in between. So, a tip for you.
Alright, let me show you what I'm going to do. We'll tilt the camera down here.
That enough. I know whenever I'm teaching people on a one-on-one basis,
Alright, you see I have the brown
the
here.
main thing I can't
So I'm going to add
people to understand,
the brown in the cup.
especially when you are working from a reference.
And
People want to let their mind tell them what to do.
now this is going to be the illustration black, if I'm not
Mind
mistaken.
may recognize an eye as
It's
having
going to
sort of
be
a shape,
the detail black.
kind of like
I'm going to add just a couple drops to darken it up a little bit.
Maybe your eye doesn't trust your reference. Maybe you see something in your reference that, eyelashes aren't shaped like that, and you might not be thinking that exactly, but your brain kind of takes over
So
and controls what you do with it, and and it's still pretty transparent. So I'm not going to do a lot of fine details, but as I said, your brain will take over and
two
dictate
drops.
what you do, and that's where people make mistakes. Like I notice a lot of times people
Always put your lid
and
back on. I
unless
might
somebody
need that,
outlines
so I ain't gonna put it on
lip
heavy.
liner or whatever,
But you see how I got a
and
couple
you're not totally outlined, you'll
couple
never
drops
see
in there.
your lips in nature.
Now we'll mix it up.
Never. But you people were taught
Perfect.
cartoons or
I like it. I
whatever
like it.
outlining is what people are comfortable with, and they start outlining things. And it's just not the case. Everything is made up of shapes and shadows. You know, everything. All lines are implied lines. Like the.
Now you
the
see
the
how
lines
it
right now
darkened
along
it
your
up.
eye,
It's still
you're
brown.
wearing eyeliner. You know, that's not realistic. Uh,
But it's a darker
you know,
brown, a
but,
real
that's
dark, a
makeup.
nice dark brown.
You know, it's an
So,
added thing. So it's okay to do a little bit of outlining there, but
I'll show
for the
you.
most part, you're still just painting shapes, shadows.
We went from
You
that
know, you're looking at minor
to
shapes
that.
within shapes. You look at broad shapes, like let's say this shape.
So
is
that's
her eye here.
basically
Smaller shapes
how I
within
like that brown now.
So you might try to locate, like,
Just
say,
adding that little bit of the black to it
this shape here.
darkens it up just nice.
Yeah,
Now I can go ahead and cut,
that in a little bit.
put the lid on
Come up
this.
here and locate this portion of it.
Always put your lid back on there. Put it off to the side. Whatever.
I'm always looking at my reference.
It doesn't matter what you have up on here. If you leave the cup here, for some reason, anything that drops off of there will hit that cup and it'll spill the paint all over the place. So I always put the lid, get in that habit of putting that lid back on there, put it away off to the side, so you don't have the paint splatter all over your painting.
Or a highlight, or whatever.
Get that habit going. The other habit is to strain the paint, but
watch the paint. Leave your airbrush. Is it making the same kind of?
Okay, now I need to add the 4021. I'm going to add the 4021 to this. I'm going to reduce it down just a little bit more.
Adjust something. Change it. I guess the bottom line of all my rambling is pay attention to your reference. Don't veer away from it. And it's going to help you.
This is really thin.
When you're trying to do stuff out of your head. You're going to learn so much from painting from reference that you're going to have a better ability to paint out of your head in the future. This is the part that I actually added.
Alright, now let's get
so I can use my imagination on
that.
Right there. Because I'm on it right there to begin with. And I think I'm working just a little more transparent than I should. So I'm going to add just a little more pigment to my mixture. I think
back flush it.
So I'm going to grab my color that I started off with.
I'm just back flushing my airbrush a little bit, because it's already been cleaned out, but after it sits overnight and that, you want it all out of there. Now we could just dump some of that in there.
Shake, turn it upside down, shake it up.
All set to go. Put the cap on there.
Go ahead and see what we've done.
Put that up there. Like I say, always put your lid back on there. Put it off to the side. Put that away. And that way.
Okay.
So now, let me tilt you back up.
Like I said, a lot of people, when I get emails and things and questions, they always question,
get a drink of my soda.
What reduction are you using? What your air pressure is?
So the first part, I'm going to spray. I'm going to spray like this dark, the dark areas here. Spray on that, and that'll. Then I can see what the paint looks like.
In this particular style, because it changes the whole time. You just watch.
See how that color looks. Because really, these areas are supposed to be like a black in a way. And I need it up there too. So if I spray here instead of spraying on him, I'll know what the color's doing, and I'll know what the airbrush is doing. Hey, Patty, good morning to you. All right. There. So like I said, I was just gonna.
Something else about my style is I think the word photorealism gets used a lot, and I wouldn't say that it's necessarily photorealism because I'm not consciously trying to go that real with it. I still like the sense of, um, I still like it to look artistic. I like the textures to be exaggerated. I like a couple of the shadows to be exaggerated. So yeah, it's close to photorealism, but it's a little more interpretive. I like to add depth. I like to play with light, which we can do a lot more later on in the piece when we get a little deeper into it. I think photorealism is, that's when you really kind of copy a photograph. I am technically copying a photograph, but I'm taking some liberties here and there. Alright, eyelashes. I'm following the shape of her eyelashes. If you look at my reference again, her eyelashes, they'll grow in certain directions. And a lot of people, you'll see a pattern in the way that their eyelashes grow. Some people aren't eyelashes, eyebrows and stuff. But you'll see a pattern in the way that their eyebrows grow. So you want to pay close attention. Like you'll get these little sprouts up here that go, this direction. Hers look like they've been brushed, so a lot of hairs go in the correct direction. So they'll go back a little bit, and you've got these that go that way, and then you see this turn here where there's almost a break. That there's this little highlight here, and then this little clear area here where you can see through the skin. It's because the eyebrow is changing direction in which the hair goes. So you want to look at that and study it and try to mimic it. You don't have to paint every single hair exactly the way that you see it, but as long as you're kind of trying to do it somewhat in the same way, then you're good. So like I said, points of reference, look at the high point of her eyebrow, and if you draw an imaginary line straight down from there, it meets right there where the highlight of her eye is. So it's directly underneath it, which is also, this far from the color part of her eye. So you just draw that imaginary line down, which I'll do the same thing here. So if you come here to about the same area, you draw a line straight up, that's going to be the high point of her eyebrow. And you'll know where you turn your corner at. There we go. It's really nice. My airbrush is really behaving today too. Really shooting really well, so I'm glad about that. You take care of your airbrush and clean it and stay on top of it. It'll always be shooting really well for you. Mine's shooting really well for me as well. If your airbrush is giving you issues, I will say 9 times out of 10, unless you drop it, it's dirty. I know when you're working like I do with the safety cap off, you have accidents all the time. So if you are working with the safety cap off, like I am, be very, 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 very careful. Because it's easy to break it. It's also easier to get small details fixed. It's good as bad. I mean, it's easy to get carried away here. Like I'm kind of getting carried away. I'm getting into my darker values
This is that one
before
dark.
I've had a chance to kind of register where the values belong. So I should probably go ahead and jump to another area right now before I take these values too dark, because if you know anything about, I don't know, balancing values, things that look dark in the beginning can lighten up when you put the actual dark next to them. So if I had something black here, it would make this look actually a lot lighter when your eye kind of reads it as black right now. But if I put a real black here, then this will lighten up quite a bit. So you want to kind of work all your values at the same time. That way you make sure that your values are consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump to another part, which is under her nostril here. And I do, a lot of times when I'm doing a portrait, I do kind of do the same things. I guess I kind of work in a circle. Like I might go from her eye
Yeah,
to her
good.
nostril to her
Go
mouth,
to it.
or her eye to her nostril
You
to
can
her
still
eye.
buy
It's really not-
souvenirs outside the
I always-
track and that if you want. And
I do kind of always do
some of
that.
them some of the NASCAR events, they have like little car shows outside the track to where you can see cars, little car shows and that.
Okay, we want to do a shade right here underneath her nostril.
Cap on.
A lot
I
of
like
times when
Tim's airbrush without this cap, but I definitely like having that cap on there no matter what.
Solid black area, there's a lot of
Any of the airbrushes I use, I like having that cap on. Hey, Poco, how you doing, man?
Different parts of the nostril hit in relationship with, let's say, her lips. So she's got a high point in her nostril around here. How does that line up? It lines up to the high point of her lip here. So, all I'm going to do is
Yeah, sometimes, hopefully the guys will still do that stuff where if you go out, if you're on the outside of the track, they have like vendors and stuff like that. They have all kinds of stuff happening. So you can still go there and even if you're not going to the race, you can still walk around when NASCAR's around. Any of the races, when there's a race going on in your area, that they have vendors around, so you could end up getting stuff there.
Okay, as I said before, when we were doing our white work, you want to look at where
but the best time to get there is like first thing in the morning, Patty. Before the traffic starts building up before the race and everything like that. With people camping and stuff like that. Or even Wednesday or Thursday before the race, before it gets close to the race, and that it's good to walk around. Some people are there for a week. You can pick up model car. They have model cars there. They have little die-cast cars. All kinds of little souvenirs at the event. You never know what kind of souvenir you can pick up that there. Especially with the die-cast cars and that, they have.
I guess maybe that comes with practice. I'm not quite sure. I know I used to have the back of my airbrush on when I first started, which kind of keeps you from pulling the trigger back too far. It's kind of like training wheels, I guess.
And I mean, they definitely have die cast.
You get a lot of trigger control. Sometimes it can get in the way of when you do want to pull the trigger back all the way.
And they have some of the old drivers die cast and stuff like that. At some of the tracks, they have, like a block long of people setting up with all kinds of stuff, t-shirts, old t-shirts and stuff like that, with stuff saying on it. You never know what you run across some of them. I haven't really looked into it to where if you want to take and put a table up yourself at them. Like I said, if you go beforehand, go by the track and that, and ask them how much it costs to set up the table, you could probably sell your artwork there and that.
This will start lightening up. You know, one thing you can do is take a picture with your camera phone or whatever when you're on that mid.
My brother was telling me that this year they're going to do I think it's the Clash, or not the Clash, the All-Star race. They're going to do it at Dover, and that's not too far away from us.
Where sometimes they'll think, man, I went too dark and I'm a little worried about it. Then I actually established my darks later in the painting, and then I didn't go dark enough. And I'd still actually make some areas darker. So that's why it's good to jump around. Jump up and get down.
No problem. I love giving you guys suggestions if you want, if you need them.
Okay, as you see here, I'm actually drawing.
Yeah, because the traffic around the racetrack gets a little hectic. You figure, what is it, like it? Sometimes it could be upwards to 80,000 people there. You don't want to be there that week near there. It gets crowded that Friday or Saturday, because they might have if they have three different races, it's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday.
If you can paint this big painting, you can paint that little bitty one too on the inside of the lid.
So if you go during the week and that, get there like when everybody's setting up, sometimes you get a good deal then.
Forget about the rest of the painting. Focus on this little tiny area. Just the bottom part of her lip.
So how's Poco doing, man?
There's parts of this where I might come back in with white later. You want to try to avoid coming back in with white if you can. I almost never completely avoid it. It's okay if you have to, because I do almost every time. But
I'm looking forward to watching Damien work on his F1 car there, Poco.
Meaning don't bargain for it. So now it's lightly sketching different shapes here. If you look at my reference. Turn off the slide so you can see my reference a little better. If you look at my reference, you see this bright area? First of all, the nostril is not a solid black. There are different shades of gray within that nostril, so don't get carried away making it solid black. Also, you look, there is a shadow around here, and then there's a slight highlight right where the dark of the nostril meets, the outside of the nostril. Don't overlook that highlight, because that's important. I see it almost every time.
Well, thank you for coming on by, Patty.
It's an important part.
And thank you for the compliment on the line.
Slightly there, it's very faint, but don't ignore it. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sketch in all these basic shapes right here. There's a little shadow here, there's a bit of a darker shadow here, and you got kind of a dark shadow here, and then you've got these midtones here. So basically the shape kind of wraps around the nose, it crawls up. Also look at points of references. There's this triangular shape here, how it measures up to this triangular shape here. Use it as a reference point. You got another peak right here, how that peak lines up, to this point of the nostril. So when you're drawing these, you're always coming back to your reference points. Is it lining up? Is it lining up? Is everything proportionate? Is all of this proportionate to what's going on up here? And when I get to sketching all this part,
Well, have an awesome dinner.
proportionate to what's
Thank
going
you
on
for
here.
coming
So
on by,
those
Poco.
arrows, that we got up here in the eye. What is it pointing at? If you draw an imaginary line down, it's actually pointing at this little tip of the curve of your nose. So always be looking at different.
Always glad to have you guys stop on by.
Don't go with very light. Don't go trying to hit this value too quickly.
I really appreciate it. For
Imply
some
that
reason,
value, imply all the other values in
I'm
the
dropping off of
over these values, imply
people
these,
on my YouTube channel. I don't know what's
and then
going
combine
on.
them, and then you can go ahead and darken these values accordingly as you work
People
around.
ain't liking what I'm putting out.
Highlight here. Don't forget that your nose is separated by the face. Don't highlight here. Okay? So,
At one time I was up to 114. Looked at it today. I'm down to 111. I don't know what's going on. That's alright.
I'm drawing that shape that I described. Remember we looked at that triangular piece. Not trying to take my
Please
values
hit
too
that
far.
like and subscribe.
Sketch it in, rotate it, rotate that, give ourselves some room to work. Don't try to go too dark too quickly. Give yourself some room. Kind of sketch it in there. And then we'll jump up to the top of the eye. See where those dark areas are in relationship to a lot of the others.
And how long I've been on here? Oh, okay, we go.
Got the values down there. Alright, you remember at the beginning when we first cut that out, I made a transfer of our original cut. I said it's good practice to make a transfer of your original cut or make a copy of the original cut because you don't know when you're going to be using it again later. Well, I'm using it again now. Let's see if I can get it. So what I did is I cut precisely on the line off camera of what my previous cut was. The reason, it's better to make a copy of the cut that you actually made rather than just 2 Xerox copies of the image itself is because your cuts are going to be slightly different if you cut on a photograph, between the two, but if you make a copy of the original cut that you made, then you know that your cuts are precisely the same.
Let's take this.
Now I get to knock out my background a lot easier. So I'm just going to put a little drop shadow on it here. So push the background back in here.
Take this to an hour-and-a-half video and then we'll shut it down. Oh, okay. Alright, I thank you all for coming on by. Hit that like and subscribe and all that jazz. For some reason, my subscriber list is falling off. I don't know why, but it might be a YouTube thing. I don't know why. If I ain't showing you guys enough or
just keep going
You
around.
guys ain't liking the art, so
as
be it.
we did with the
Go ahead, like I
So
said, hit
some
that
of
like
these
and
we talked
subscribe.
about
Have an
very
awesome
successful.
day. Thank you for
So
coming
if
on
you
by.
stay tuned and watch me go around,
And I'll
hand
see
this
you
out
on the next
and
video.
put my headphones in
And
let's rock.
when's the next video? Okay, we still got more time. We've got one more shot this year. Bye.